Has anyone seen the TV show Alone on the History Channel? I'm alone in that, huh? So the show is Alone. It's kind of like a survivor show, but it's actually pretty realistic. And they pick 10 people and they take them to the most remote parts of the world, and they have to live out there and survive for as long as they want to. And so they're allowed to pick 10 things with them when they go. So they might take like a fishing rod with line, they might take an axe, they might take a net for fish, they might take like a fire starter with them, but they're only allowed to pick 10 things. And so they have to be really selective on the 10 things that they pick. And then they go off into the wilderness, and the only thing that they have in order of communication, they're given all their own like camera equipment, so there's nobody recording them but themselves. And the only thing they have for communication is a satellite phone, like a call box. And there's a button that they can push, and when they push the button, it's called tapping out. So when they push that button, they're tapping out, they're done with what they're doing. And it's fascinating to watch because the shortest tap out ever was 6 hours. I don't know what that guy was doing on the show, but he only made it 6 hours. He saw some bear something, and was afraid of bears, so he tapped out. And then the longest ones have gone over 100 days that they've lasted in the wilderness. And what I discovered is when they're ready to tap out, I noticed something pretty consistent. You could tell when somebody starts to say to the camera, they start to say like, I'm thinking, I don't know how much longer I can do this. One guy said, I'm going to go take a walk, and when I come back, I'll decide if I'm going to tap out or not. You know from the moment they begin questioning, they're going to tap out. They tap out within a matter of minutes or hours after they begin questioning that. So in the season of Lent, as we increase our prayer and almsgiving, right, as we've made these resolutions, during Lent, we might be tempted to tap out and say, like, I can't do it anymore. I'm going to tap out. And if we even start to think about tapping out, we're probably going to tap out. You know, so if you think about breaking your fast early, probably going to tap out. If you think about, I'm not going to pray today, probably going to tap out. If you think, haven't thought of a way to almsgive, probably going to tap out. We are given these 3 tools for Lent. So it's the only thing that we have for Lent that we go into this wilderness for that we need in order to survive: prayer, fasting, and almsgiving. And so as we enter into this season more deeply, I just encourage you to renew your conviction to the resolutions that you made. If you haven't made a resolution yet, make a resolution to increase your prayer, increase fasting, increase almsgiving, all 3. Because those are the tools that we have. Those are the tools that we need to survive this wilderness of Lent. Now, when people tapped out on the show, a lot of times they tapped out because they got to go home. So sometimes they tapped out just because they missed their family. Sometimes they tapped out because they were completely fatigued, exhausted, or couldn't find anything to eat and were losing it. When we have that temptation to tap out, it's really important that we not only do what we intended to do, but like double down on it and say, I'm really going to do it today, and maybe I'll even do just a little more to overcome that temptation to tap out. And we hear in the first reading, Abram is called to leave everything that he has. He's called to go into the wilderness, leave his father's house, to leave his kinsfolk, and to go into the wilderness. And when he goes, he's not quite sure what he's going for, but he's following God's prompting. And so it's probably very difficult for him to leave that situation. But does anybody know where God was leading Abram? He was leading him to the promised land. And so the same is true for us as we go through this season of Lent. God is leading us to the promised land. So Lent will end with Easter. Lent originally began as a rite of initiation. So for those that are coming into our faith, the 40 days was set as their final time of initiation before they would receive the sacraments. One of the guys on Alone was 40, and so he was going on there because he wanted to have an initiation experience. And he wanted to know what it would be like to be like initiated, kind of like a tribal thing. Well, sometimes for us, we never had that experience as an adult because we were baptized as a child. How many of you were baptized as an infant? Raise your hand. Okay, so pretty much all of us, or most of us, were baptized as an infant. So Lent becomes a time of initiation. It's a rite of passage for us, that we go through this conversion, and we go through this uncomfortable time where we pray, fast, and give alms. And just like the people on Alone, they go out there and they're pushed to their absolute limit, physically, mentally, spiritually, of what they can endure. And in the gospel we hear that Jesus transfigures before his disciples. And as he's transfigured, Peter wants to build a tent and just stay there. He wants to stay right there with the glory of God. But Jesus says to him, we must go. Again, leaving the comfortable situation, leaving the beautiful situation, and entering then, he'll take them into the passion, death, and resurrection. And so this time for us is an initiation. So Lent, hopefully, is not comfortable for us. Hopefully we're experiencing what it really is to sacrifice, to push ourselves spiritually, to really experience a new way of life, so that when we come to the end of Lent, we're new people. We're initiated into this new life, and we'll come to the Paschal mystery of his suffering, his death, and his resurrection. We'll come to the promised land. And so I just invite you, if you're tempted to tap out on your prayer, fasting, and almsgiving, let this be a time to renew your resolutions, to be strong in your faith, and whatever you do, don't tap out.